On a quiet afternoon in July 1984, a McDonald's in San Ysidro, California, became the scene of one of the deadliest mass shootings in U.S. history. James Huberty, a troubled man with a history of mental illness, entered the restaurant armed with multiple firearms and over 77 horrific minutes killed 21 people, including children, and injured 19 others. This is the story of the San Ysidro McDonald's massacre. James Oliver Huberty, born in 1942 in Ohio, had a difficult upbringing. At the age of 3, he contracted polio, which left him physically weakened and socially isolated. The disease required him to use leg braces, leading to him being bullied. After his mother abandoned the family, his father raised him in a strict religious household, further deepening his sense of loneliness. As he grew up, Huberty developed a fascination with firearms, which later became central to his life. In early 1965, Huberty married Etna Markland, and they had 2 daughters. Huberty struggled with anger issues, paranoia, and violent behavior. In 1982, he lost his job, which further worsened his mental health. He moved his family to Tijuana, Mexico, hoping for a fresh start. But when this didn't work out, they relocated to San Ysidro, California. In the months leading up to the tragedy, Huberty felt increasingly hopeless, believing society had failed him. Days before the massacre, Huberty commented to his wife that he suspected he had a mental health problem. 2 days later, he called a mental health clinic, requesting an appointment. Leaving his contact details with the receptionist, Huberty was assured the clinic would return his call within hours. According to his wife, Huberty sat quietly beside the telephone for several hours, awaiting the return call, before abruptly leaving the family home and riding to an unknown destination on his motorcycle. Unbeknownst to Huberty, the receptionist had logged his call as a non-crisis inquiry, to be handled within 48 hours. His polite demeanor conveyed no sense of urgency to the operator, and he had mentioned that he had never been hospitalized for mental health issues. An hour later, Huberty returned home in a better mood. The following morning, Huberty, his wife, and children visited the San Diego Zoo. During their walk through the zoo, Huberty told his wife he believed his life was over, referring to the mental health clinic's failure to return his call the previous day. After eating lunch at a McDonald's restaurant in San Diego, the family returned home. Shortly after, Huberty walked into his bedroom wearing a maroon t-shirt and green camouflage slacks. He kissed his wife goodbye, and Etna asked him where he was going. Huberty calmly replied that he was going hunting for humans. At approximately 3:56 p.m., on July 18th, Huberty drove his black Mercury Marquis sedan into the parking lot of the McDonald's restaurant on San Ysidro Boulevard. He was armed with a 9mm semi-automatic pistol, a 9mm Uzi, and a 12-gauge pump-action shotgun, along with a box and a cloth bag containing hundreds of rounds of ammunition. At the time, there were 45 customers inside the restaurant. Upon entering, Huberty first aimed his shotgun at 16-year-old employee John Arnold, but the gun did not fire. As the assistant manager, Guillermo Flores, alerted Arnold, Huberty fired the shotgun into the ceiling and then shot 22-year-old manager Neva Kane beneath her left eye, killing her shortly after. Huberty then shot Arnold in the chest and arm, commanding everyone to the ground and hurling insults at the patrons. When 25-year-old Victor Rivera tried to intervene, Huberty shot him 14 times while shouting for him to be quiet. As staff and customers tried to hide beneath tables and service booths, Huberty turned his attention to 6 women and children huddled together. He first killed 19-year-old Maria Silva with a single gunshot to the chest, then fatally shot 9-year-old Claudia Perez multiple times. He then wounded Perez's 15-year-old sister Imelda in the hand. He fired upon 11-year-old Aurora Peña, who had been shielded by her pregnant aunt, 18-year-old Jackie Reyes. Huberty shot Reyes 48 times. Beside his mother's body, 8-month-old Carlos Reyes sat up and wailed, at which point Huberty shouted at the baby and killed him with a single pistol shot. Huberty then shot and killed 62-year-old Lawrence Versluis, before targeting a family seated near the restaurant's play area, who had tried to shield their son and his friend beneath the tables. 31-year-old Blythe Herrera shielded her 11-year-old son, Mateo, beneath one booth, while her husband Ronald protected Mateo's friend, 12-year-old Keith Thomas, beneath a booth directly across from them. Thomas was shot multiple times but was not seriously wounded. Ronald was shot 6 times but survived, while Blythe and Mateo were both killed by multiple gunshots to the head. Nearby, 3 women had also tried to hide beneath a booth. 31-year-old Araceli Vargas received a single gunshot to the back of the head and died of her wound the next day, while her 2 friends survived. At another booth, Huberty killed 45-year-old Hugo Vasquez. Shortly afterward, Huberty searched the kitchen area, where he found 6 employees and opened fire, killing 21-year-old Paulina Lopez, 19-year-old Elsa Fierro, and 18-year-old Margarita Padilla. Hearing a wounded teenager, 19-year-old Jose Perez, moaning, Huberty shot him in the head. He also shot and killed Perez's friend and neighbor, 22-year-old Gloria Gonzalez, as well as a young woman named Michelle Carncross. Several survivors later reported seeing Huberty walk toward the service counter and adjust a portable radio, possibly to search for news reports of his shooting spree, before selecting a music station and continuing to shoot individuals while dancing to the music. At around 4:05 p.m., Astolfo and Maricela Felix drove toward the restaurant. Initially mistaking the shooter for a repairman, they were suddenly fired upon. Maricela was shot in the face, arms, and chest, which left her blind in one eye and disabled one hand. Their 4-month-old daughter, Carlita, was critically injured, and Astolfo was wounded in the chest and head. All 3 members of the Felix family survived. Next, 3 11-year-old boys on BMX bikes entered the parking lot and were shot. Joshua Coleman was critically injured, while his friends Omar Alonso Hernandez and David Flores Delgado were killed. Huberty then targeted an elderly couple, Miguel Ulloa and Ada Victoria. As Miguel opened the door for his wife, Huberty shot Ada in the face, killing her. Miguel was also shot in the head and killed. A 911 call went out shortly after 4 p.m., but miscommunication delayed the arrival of law enforcement, initially sending them to a different McDonald's location. When officers did arrive, they secured the area and positioned a SWAT sniper across the street. At 5:17 p.m., after surveying the scene, the sniper saw an opportunity and fatally shot Huberty, ending the massacre. The aftermath was devastating. 21 people lay dead, their ages ranging from 4 months to 74 years, mostly Mexican-American families. In the days following the massacre, the San Ysidro McDonald's underwent renovations, but community leaders and McDonald's executives ultimately decided it would not reopen. Instead, McDonald's donated the property to the city with the stipulation that no restaurant be built on the site. In 1990, a memorial to the victims was unveiled. McDonald's contributed $1 million to a survivors fund to cover burial costs, financial aid for families, and counseling for survivors. The San Ysidro McDonald's massacre remains one of the deadliest mass shootings in U.S. history.